All right, in this lesson we're going to talk about going with the methodology of keeping everything in one work set called Workset 1. And I've noticed a couple of offices are getting away with this, and the thing is, if you can, it really makes it easier, because then you only have one major user created work set called Workset 1, and it works best if there's only a couple people and you are able to really communicate with each other, as in literally either talk across the room or pick up the phone and phone them or something. So you can get away with leaving everything in one work set, and all you do really is you don't check out the work set, you just borrow. So watch, here's Doug. It's after lunch. He's gonna open up his local file. So Doug's opening up his local file, and over here is Bob, and Bob's opening up his local file, which we left the word central in, by the way. So here's Bob working over here, and here's Doug working over here. So what happens is, right now you go in, and first of all I should introduce this Workset toolbar down here. So right now it says Workset 1. There is only one Workset 1 here, and it's not editable. I don't have it checked out. If I click on this Workset button, it's the same as picking on the one up there, and it brings this up. So the idea of what we're talking about here is leaving everything in Workset 1. Okay, just leave it all there, which is really smooth and easy. This is taking several lessons, but once you understand this, you could do this all in about 1 minute. So we leave everything in Workset 1, and we don't check it out. Okay, and open means that we can see it. If you actually go in here and you say no and you hit close, you won't see anything because the Workset's not open, which means your computer's going to go a lot faster, of course, because you can't even see it, let alone edit it. But we do probably want to see it. We'll talk about these later. So opening it means you can see it, doesn't mean you can edit it. Edit it is where the real memory is. If it's editable, then it's up in RAM, it's in memory, so that will slow you down. So we're going to leave this. Here we are, and Doug is going to leave that just the way it is. And over here with Bob's going to do the same thing. He's going to go down and pick on his Workset button, and he's going to leave this just like that. Okay, active Workset, which is this guy down here. Okay, now active Workset means if you draw something new, it'll go into that Workset. So it has to be a valid Workset. So at this point, we haven't done any changes. So watch what happens. Here we are, and we say, okay, there is Bob. So Bob's going to pick on this. He's going to go back and edit the roof. Now, he doesn't even have to do this. All he has to do is say, edit footprint. It automatically lets him do that. Take this edge, delete it, go in, grab something there, change his roof, finish. Oh, I got a little trim problem. Continue. It was a bad edge. I knew that wasn't going to work. Delete that again. Arc from the end point to the tab end point. Thank you. And then finish. Okay, so there's my new roof. Click out. Now, I want to continue editing the roof, but I want to update it to the central file for everyone to see. So I go up to my collaborate, and I say synchronize with central with the settings now, and I'm going to say don't relinquish my borrowed elements, but update everything. So I go like this. It's going to save my local file. It's going to synchronize, save everything. Okay, now here we are. Here's Doug. So Doug's working over here. Doug goes into Worksets first of all, and he notices that Bob's borrowed something. Okay, so what happens, he picks on this roof and he goes to edit it. He's going to get a message here that says you cannot edit the element until Bob, it actually knows who has it, resaves the element to the central and relinquishes it to him. I can place a request into Bob right now and say place request. Editing request. Okay, so close. So I can say okay, done on that. So I cannot edit this. If I pick on here and try to do this, it's not going to let me edit that roof. So I know Bob, so I can literally yell across the room and say, hey Bob, are you done with that roof? Or I can phone him up and tell him to check his messages. So now watch what happens. We go over here, and Bob's working over here, and look, editing request all of a sudden. Central Gallery, Workset 1 roof, requested by Doug. So we're actually getting the messages. Yay! Okay. This didn't used to happen. So, and it says another user requested your permission to edit these elements. Okay. So I can click on here. What does this give me? Looks like it's going to be a flyout or something. Calling up a browser. Let's see what it does. Granting request. It's a help menu, so that you can get that information if you want. There's a nice little piece of help. Picking on here. Now I can't grant the permission from in here. It's just a message. All I can do is exit this. Now watch. I'm going to go up to here and say, where is it? Editing requests. Under synchronize here, edit requests, and it says Doug has requested that roof. Workset 1, this roof. I can actually say show, and it'll show me that roof. Okay, close it off. The key is I'm aware that Bob, that Doug wants to edit this roof. So what I need to do is save and relinquish or grant him the rights. Okay, so what if I go into here and I pick on this and I cannot say grant? What if I go up here? Sure enough, I can say, okay, Doug, there you go. Grant. Close it off. So now I can no longer, I've done my editing. Granting is offering it up to him. Now watch what happens when we go over here to Doug. Oh, all of a sudden, Doug gets a message. Central Gallery, Workset 1, granted by Bob. You have been granted permission to edit this element. Good. Click on here, pick on my roof, edit the footprint. Now on your own element, but your file is out of date. Aha! So what happened there, and I did this on purpose, Bob granted Doug the rights, but the difference is that Bob didn't save and synchronize. So I need to cancel this out and go back. And the thing is, if you're going to grant someone permission, you have to make sure that you've resynchronized your file. So over here, I need to go into here and say synchronize. I don't have anything borrowed anymore because I granted him the right, so I'm going to say okay. Now I'm going to push my changes back to the central file. Now I have to go over here, and now what Doug has to do is he needs to synchronize as well because he needs to pull those changes in. So he's going to go in here and say synchronize. I don't want to give back my roof permissions yet. I want to keep my roof, but I want to see the latest roof. So I pick on here, and then all of a sudden I see, that's why Bob didn't want to give me the roof. He was making changes to it. Now I own this roof, so I can click on it and I can say edit the footprint. And I can take this line and say, okay, no, we wanted it to go this way instead. Finish this, click out. There's my roof. Okay, now what I do is I say okay, synchronize with central and give it up. Hit okay. Click out. There we go. Now over here. Okay, Bob does the same thing. Synchronize with central. Pushes his savings down and grabs it up, and now the roof is back to here. Now I can go in here. Now I can edit. So you can give it back and forth and back and forth. So this is, we're doing this because we've left everything in this one work set. So what we're doing now is we're leaving everything kind of in that main work set. And what you do is, as you go through here, every time you want to edit something, you simply borrow it. Okay, if I grab this chair and I move it, I'm just going to literally press and drag and move it. Okay, boom. All of a sudden now I have borrowed that chair. It doesn't ask me. It used to ask you to borrow and all kinds of stuff. Now it just borrows it. So if I go to my work sets, I'm going to see that I'm now a borrower. Okay, so if I do a save and synchronize and relinquish my borrowed elements, okay, Bob's done there. Now over to Doug. Doug opens up his first floor, and the chair isn't moved because he needs to synchronize with central. He synchronizes with central, so you're constantly synchronizing. So things are moving around all over the place. If you get 5 people working on this project, you're going to get a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so if you try to edit something, now watch. If you pick on this door, okay, you can move the door and borrow the door, but if you try to edit the family, okay, and you literally change the thickness to be 50 millimeters here instead and hit OK, Okay, what I've done now is I've borrowed that door family. So if I go into here and I go to families, okay, you'll see that the bifold door has been borrowed by Doug. So then you have to be careful, because now of course I've changed that to be 50 millimeters thick, so it's a little bit, well, that's the same one. So I've changed all of the ones here. Okay, so if I now go synchronize and give up all my borrowed elements, what's happening is all the doors of this type in this project have been changed. They've been put onto the central file, and the next time that anyone's in here, for instance Bob's in here and he still has the old door, because his door, if he goes into here, is still at 40 millimeters, right? If he synchronizes with central or reopens his file, either way will do the same thing. Okay, and he picks on here and he goes into here, guess what? It's now 50. If you change anything in here, it automatically borrows the element. So really the borrowing process is a matter of checking out items one item at a time. And this way we leave everything in this nice big fat work set called Workset 1, and we don't have to manage a bunch of work sets. It's a little easier. However, there are some advantages, as we'll see in the next couple of videos, of actually creating work sets and putting everything. Right now, if you pick on this chair, it's in Workset 1. If you pick on this piece of text, oh, that's not quite the same thing. It's controlled by the style. But if you pick on this wall, it's in Workset 1. If you pick on this room, it's in Workset 1. Everything in this project is in Workset 1. So there's certain convenience to that. If you pick on this topo surface, Workset 1. Okay, so what the principle with using Workset 1 as the only workset is it's easy to just go through and edit, and then whatever you need to edit, you just go ahead and borrow it. So if you want to move it, you move it. But it depends on your work process in the office. It really does. You get into big projects, you're probably going to want to break things down. You don't want to just cut everyone loose for editing. It's very flexible if you leave it in one workset, because then everyone just, it's a kind of a free-for-all, but you have to be due diligence and etc. So you will find your own flow in your office, how you want it to go. So that's a little taste of using worksets, borrowing and keeping everything all in Workset 1.